Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope for those of you that watched, you recovered from the Olympic opening ceremonies last night. I did not watch, and I have seen a number of clips, though. There's a lot of outrage going on out there because it was wild, and not necessarily wild in a good way from what a lot of people are saying. But on that point, the oh well, we'll see her title in a second. Well, let me say, I saw this. This was coming. This is USOPC CEO Sarah Hirschland talking about Caitlin Clark, which I want to get to because this is important. This is for the Olympics. But before, just as a reminder, I wanted to go about this. This was back when the roster was announced. So I think this was in June, and you had USA Basketball Selection Committee Chair Jen Rosati rationalizing why Caitlin Clark was not selected on the team to the team. So here's the basketball criteria that we were given as a committee, and how do we evaluate our players based on that, Rosati said. And when you base your decision on criteria, as opposed to what, Jen? Anyway, there were other players that were harder to cut because they checked a lot more boxes. She never did say what those boxes were or who those players were. This just sounds like a line to throw shade at Caitlin Clark and tweak her fans. Then sometimes it comes down to position, style of play for Coach Reeve, ugh, and then sometimes a vote. Okay, well, we have no idea what those boxes are, but we do know Caitlin Clark can rebound. Caitlin Clark's the best passer in the league. Caitlin Clark can take players one-on-one off the dribble and drive to the basket for buckets. Caitlin Clark can shoot the three. Caitlin Clark has a higher soccer. That's probably high too. She did play soccer, but a higher basketball IQ than most players on the team. She's a floor general that leads her team on the court. She makes everyone around her better. Lots of checked boxes. Position, okay, position. Well, there's only one point guard on this team now, and that's Chelsea Gray, who at the time that she was selected had not played since October because she had torn her Achilles, which is a major injury. So she's back and able to play, but it's going to be a while before she is Chelsea Gray. In the 12 games she's played since she's been back, she's only averaging 7.3 points, 2.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists, shooting 39% from the field, only 24% from three, and her effective field goal percentage is only 42.7. Caitlin's is like 50.9. It's not even close. But she's the only. They have a bunch of guards, but Chelsea Gray is the only point guard. So it's not about checking boxes, because I just told you all the boxes Caitlin Clark checks, probably more than anybody on the team. And it's not about position. Style of play, what they want to be old, slow, and boring, as opposed to fast and exciting. So I'm not getting that. And these numbers were at the time of the selection, where she was still averaging very good 16.3 points, 6 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. And she was just coming off Rookie of the Month for May. Should have been Player of the Month for July. Now, what's funny, of course, is here you have some of these excuses. Remember these? Concerns about her experience and the physicality of the game at this level. And we will get to that a little later, because that's also not only proven wrong in terms of experience and how she's playing in the WNBA and handling the physicality, but it's a lie about international play. And man, they are reaching. Listen to this. While she's done some tremendous things on the court, she's also averaging 5.4 turnovers. Now, that's bad enough. I've done multiple videos on that. Anyone who's listening to other videos on this channel, you know the whole turnover thing is nonsense. It's been debunked so many times. Anybody who's arguing with you against Caitlin Clark and says turnovers, they're a fool. They're an idiot. They don't understand basketball, or they're just trying to get under your skin. They're just not worth having the conversation. Now, you think that's bad? Listen to this. I've never ever heard anything like this in life. I saw this and I was like, I want to do a video just on this sentence. While she's done some tremendous things on the court, she's also averaging 5.4 turnovers and gasp, 3.0, not just 3.0 fouls per contest. I've never ever in the history of talking about a player in basketball have said as a negative they've had averaging 3 fouls per contest. By the way, it's a league that allows 6. She hasn't fouled out of a game. I think she was in foul trouble once. That's how much they're reaching to look for negatives. And of course, ultimately, they decided to keep her off the roster. Okay, so let's get into this real quick here with Sarah Hirschland talking about the selection committee. She doesn't think it was a snub, of course. And she explained why she gives USA Basketball the benefit of the doubt in its selection process. She said as she expects this year's squad to win gold even without Clark. I think everybody does, but that's not the point. If Clark deserves to be on the team, she should be on the team regardless of whether they can win it without her. Same thing with Enrique. And you haven't convinced me that someone like Jonquel Jones shouldn't be on the team over Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner should not be on this basketball team. Chelsea Gray should not be on this basketball team. Diana Taurasi should not be on this basketball team. So that's 3 spots. So please keep that in mind. And everybody I know that likes Caitlin Clark has talked about that as well. So it's not purely about Caitlin Clark. It is an absolute ridiculous selection committee that does not know what they're doing, unlike what Sarah is talking about here. Now, I won't read this whole quote. She basically says, well, maybe I will because it's kind of funny. The selection process is a multi-year process. The governing body for the sport of basketball here in the U.S., USA Basketball, has been underway in a process. It's very clearly defined and set out, and they're bringing a group of women together over the course of many years. Okay, so real quick, this is true of, I mean, it's never really talked about because it's not followed. Like if you look at men's basketball, and especially now when you have pro athletes and you have rumors about who's playing and changes are made and everything, to say that there is a strict process that you must follow is simply not true. And I'll give you a really quick example because this is true for say soccer when you're talking about the World Cup or also the Olympics, but and the men are in the Olympics for the first time since what 2008, I think, because it is different. In the men's side, it's not the full team; it's a U23 team, and I think they get 3 exceptions, 3 players that could be older, but there might be like an average age thing between those. I'm not sure, but on the women's side, it's the full roster. But to that point, real quick, on the women's side, Emma Hayes is a new coach. She finished out coaching the professional team at Chelsea. So her first time coaching the U.S. women's team, her first camp, getting a look at players and being on the sideline, was the final camp before the Olympics, in which they also played 2 exhibition games, 2 friendlies against South Korea. I think she had 26 players rostered, maybe 23, but at least 26 in camp. Only 18 can be on an Olympic roster. So she picked her 18. She had her alternates. One of the alternates was Lynn Williams, who wasn't even in the camp. And by the way, because of an injury now, Lynn Williams is actually on the Olympic team and played in their first game, but she was not in the camp. And it's the same with basketball. They absolutely could have picked Caitlin Clark, and we'll get to that a little bit more. But right, and I kind of got ahead of myself there when she talks about it isn't a given that the U.S. is qualified for the games. That happens over quite a bit of time. Exactly, I just explained that. So it's kind of ridiculous. She's spinning, and then she goes, Clark jumping ahead because she is popular would not have made sense. And it says popularity is, after all, most advocates' main argument for Clark playing in this year's Olympics. No, that's not true. Yes, there are people who have said it. Stephen A. Smith talked about it. And I'm going to defend him and say, look, he did come out and talk about that and say Caitlin Clark should be on the team, and he got buried for it by his colleagues, which is why he's completely flipped and said a lot of other things the other way to kind of get back in everyone's good graces. And then they rationalize again with the college players and rookies have participated in the past with players like Diana Taurasi and Sylvia Fowles and Candace Parker and Brianna Stewart. And again, here's more nonsense. But each had even more college success than Clark. No, they didn't. They may have won national championships, but they as players did not have more success. Brianna Stewart and Diana Taurasi played with the best players in the country. They were all five-star recruits. Diana Taurasi was teammates with Sue Bird in college. Caitlin Clark led a bit, and this is not a knock on Iowa at all, so Iowa fans, please don't misunderstand, but she led a bunch of three-star recruits to back-to-back NCAA championship games. Last year on the run, they beat defending champion and I believe undefeated South Carolina. And this year in their run, they beat defending champion LSU. So back to back, they beat the defending champs on their way to their own runs to the Final Four and just happened to fall short. So that is absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, I want to go back to the experiencing and all that. Caitlin Clark has 3 gold medals. Now, it's not with the senior team, but she has 3 gold medals in the under 16 team and twice, by the way, in the under 19. She played in 2019 with the under 19s and then again in 2021, because obviously she made the under 19 as a very much younger player. And in 2021, the under 19 women's basketball World Cup. She led the United States. She didn't just play. She led them to a gold, averaging a team high 14.3 points, 5.6 assists, and 5.3 rebounds. And she was named most valuable player and made the all tournament team. So yes, she can play on the international level. And then this is more nonsense with the senior team. In March of 2024, she was one of 14 players and the only college player to receive an invitation from the United States national team to the final training camp for the 2024 Summer Olympics. Now, wouldn't you know that the Team USA, and of course you knew because it's something that's planned well ahead of time. It happened to be Final Four weekend, and you had Iowa, who had been to the championship game the year before and basically had the same team intact and having Caitlin Clark. It's a good chance they might go back to the Final Four. And yet the Olympics, which invited her as the only college player, miraculously decided that they were going to hold camp Final Four weekend. Of course, they said they would follow her performance in college and in her early 2024 WNBA season, which again was better than Diana Taurasi's when she made the team as a rookie. And then they went with this nonsense about selecting players, including adaptability to the international game and experience playing with the senior national team. Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? But, and don't forget this, 2 other sources, both longtime U.S. basketball veterans with decades of experience in the women's game, told USA Today Sports Friday that concern over how Clark's millions of fans would react to what would likely be limited playing time on a stacked roster was a factor in the decision making. If true, that would be an extraordinary admission of the tension that this multi-million-dollar sensation, who signs autographs for dozens of children before and after every game, has caused for the old guard of women's basketball. The 2 people spoke on condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the matter. This is all about jealousy. This whole thing is about jealousy. And like someone says here, oh, but they're including this in the Olympic team roster. All the right boxes are checked. None of these are good boxes. I thought the goal is to get more fans watching. Someone chose the Angel Reese thing. Clark got snubbed. You have now, with the Olympics, you have things like this. Isn't it disgraceful that LeBron James, who kneeled during the U.S. anthem, is selected to carry the U.S. flag at the Olympics, while Caitlin Clark, whose all-star team recently defeated the women's Olympic team, will not be attending? I decided to boycott the Olympics when Caitlin Clark was left off the women's basketball team. Automatic boycott. Men's basketball, women's soccer, this nonsense. Nope, the Olympics aren't serious anymore, and other countries should boycott any sport like women's basketball. Okay, they're getting into that thing. Everybody needs to boycott the women's U.S. basketball team at the Olympics due to the fact that the most exciting women's star in the sport, namely Caitlin Clark, was left off the team. So There's a lot going on between the opening ceremonies. A lot of people with the LeBron James carrying the flag having issues when you look at what he did in 2020. Caitlin Clark being snubbed and not off the women's basketball team. It's crazy out there, folks. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And especially on, as you can see, with what I really wanted to point out is they keep moving the goalposts and coming up with these weird reasons as to why Caitlin Clark didn't make the team, which leads me to believe that none of those reasons are the reason. Otherwise, they would have something concrete for us. But they've got some wacky things they're saying. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will talk to you later.